Hello, Nasdaq followers, and welcome to another edition of Nasdaq Spotlight. My name is Leanna Alfaro. I'm a producer and host here at Nasdaq. Joining me right now is CEO and founder of the new co-working space in New York City, Cate Luzio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So you're here to tell us a little bit more about your co-working space, which is designed for women identifying individuals, but also welcomes men. Tell us about why this space is so important right now.
So I think we've got an amazing opportunity to provide programming and content for women that are in need of that, right? So you've got this whole middle patch of women that, number one, work in corporate America, that are looking and yearning for more investment in themselves, not just from their companies, but in order to progress their career, to do that themselves. And so for us, building a space that is super inclusive and super diverse across all women, regardless of age, regardless of industry or title, to come and build a community together to inspire one another and be inspired, but at the same time learn and develop and accelerate their careers. That's what we created Luminary for, and we opened about 3 months ago.
And you guys have gained some pretty good traction so far. Do you know what you can attribute that to?
So I think there's a need for it, right? I think there's a huge rise in spaces for women, which is amazing, right? As someone who spent 20 years in financial services, working for companies like JP Morgan and HSBC, I saw that need as I accelerated my career. Women wanted to come together. They like to connect, and they like to be in a safe and non-intimidating space. So creating a space like that here in New York for professional women, I think that can attribute to where we are today and just in 3 short months of opening.
Absolutely. And now, what's interesting about your space, it's not just for the woman entrepreneur, although entrepreneurship in the last 20 years has grown like
huge,
120%.
Yeah.
It caters to the corporate woman, to the woman in the middle, to the senior woman. How does this ecosystem kind of work, and how is there a benefit for everyone involved?
So I think, we can't say women are one size fits all, right? I think there's too much of categorizing women today, whether it's the senior woman or the millennial woman or even the women in the middle. I think we have to create this community of women that, regardless of what they look like, where they work, or what they're doing, can come together. We really focus on that programming and content aspect. So whether you're coming to take a course or a workshop on how to write a business plan, how to negotiate, personal branding and executive presence, all the way to our larger speaker series where we've had women like Sally Krawcheck and Gary Vaynerchuk to come and talk about inspirational ideas and what they did to build their careers. We're really trying to be all-encompassing when you think about women, and it's why we created a space that has a wellness aspect. We have a fitness studio, we have a beauty bar, we're opening up our rooftop deck in May that will look at the Empire State Building.
That sounds like an amazing tribute.
And again, we're really, as much as we're female focused for our membership, because we do believe that women need a space to come together and learn from one another, we don't exclude men, right? As someone, again, who worked in financial services for 20 years, we need men to be at the table with us. If we're ever going to change the numbers we talk about, the lack of women at the top, the lack of CEOs and women on boards, we need men to work with us, to help us. So let's not create resentment and exclusion and bring them together. So whether you're an individual that's a member at Luminary or one of our corporate members, and we work with a lot of companies around advancing their women, we don't exclude men. It's a big part of why I built the space too.
Yeah, and super important point that you bring up how crucial men are to this journey to help women step up the corporate ladder and in all aspects of life. I think our CEO, Adina Freeman, would very much agree with you. Most of her mentors were men, and she always says this kind of messaging as well. Now, talk to us a little bit about your history. 20 years in banking, JP Morgan, HSBC, you're a boss. I mean, you're managing global teams of over 1,000 people.
Yeah.
What were some of the lessons learned that you kind of took over to Luminary that you still employ today? So
one, I had amazing mentors and males that I worked for. I think there was a lot of that tapping on the shoulder for me, which I was really fortunate to have that opportunity in a lot of the jobs that I was moved into. I had someone sort of pulling me as I was pushing too, because it can't be just up to the company. You have to take control of your career. What I saw again was as I progressed, I spent sort of all of my free time mentoring, developing, coaching other employees in those firms and leading a lot of our women's initiatives, not just women, but men too. And so I wanted to have a bigger impact, and I wanted to have a broader impact versus in just one company in one industry. So I've taken that experience, that 20 years of building businesses and big businesses, and that's why I wrote a business plan in March last year, and we opened up in November, to take all of that experience and bring that to more and more women, not just in New York, but hopefully much broader than that.
Now, what's the difference between having a co-working space and being immersed in an ecosystem with women and men who can help elevate your career and getting coffee with someone? I think I read this article that you were quoted in about the coffee culture that we have.
Yes.
We're caffeinated out.
Over-caffeinated.
Something like that.
Yeah, no offense to the coffee companies. For me, again, as I accelerated my career, but also as I asked mentors for help along my journey, it was always, hey, can we have a coffee? Can we have a coffee to talk about my career path or how do I get from A to B, and what about pivoting my career? And so those one-on-one coffees, we try to do as many as we can, but you fill your calendar with them. I certainly was doing that. You don't want to say no. So how do you take that one-on-one coffee experience and create an ecosystem of women supporting one another, again, across industry, across levels, and make that one-on-one coffee 3-on-3, 5-on-5, and just multiply. I call it the multiplier effect, where you're serving more women, helping more women, and not only Luminary doing that, but helping each other. So really creating an ecosystem within the space. It's why we choose and try to work with as many women-owned businesses within the space. So procuring products from women-owned businesses. Our beauty bar is sponsored by Glam & Go, also female-owned. Our fitness partners, all female-owned partners. So really looking at their brands and supporting their brands versus just ours.
Absolutely. Now, this rise of working spaces geared at women and geared at different niche groups do you see this as a beginning of a new movement?
Absolutely. I think it's amazing to see, right? If I look back even a little over a year ago, I would not have imagined myself doing this. I wasn't involved in a co-working space. I worked a full-time job. But as I've stepped outside of the box and started working with a number of companies, because we do offer corporate memberships, I've seen a real need for them to focus on their women. So it's not just about the individual, it's about the women in their companies, and we can bring those together. I'm excited. I'm really excited because each of the spaces has a different niche, right? Whether it's a true co-working space, a social space, and we're actually taking it much more broad than that. We're actually creating reciprocal memberships in cities around the country so that we're not actually opening luminaries. That's not to say we won't, but right now we're focused on really collaborating with a number of these other women's spaces that we feel are on brand and are the same mission and ethos.
Very cool. I like that very much. So you have a lot of flexible memberships on the note of memberships. You have corporate memberships. Talk to us about some of the options that people have if they want to get.
So as an individual, we know that women try to cram a lot into their day. We're great multitaskers, but you need value if you're going to create time to come to a space like ours. So we have memberships for someone that is the true entrepreneur freelancer that has a completely flexible schedule, and that's where they can work there all day long, have access to all of our programming anytime. We call that our collective membership, all the way down to our side hustle. And side hustle doesn't mean you're just coming after work. A side hustle really means you need a couple of hours a day or a couple of hours a week to really focus on that passion project. We have an under 25 membership as well for a lot of these young women that are coming out of college and looking to expand their network in particular and start developing their skill sets. And then we have a scholarship program called our Illumination Grants. So we, for every 10 memberships, we provide one to a woman in need and work with a number of nonprofits in the area to help us provide candidates for those scholarships.
Incredible. So for anyone wanting to join, it's a non-exclusive kind of membership, correct?
Non-exclusive. There is no application process. We've done that on purpose. I feel personally there's too much exclusivity. We want to welcome all. So it's a join now, come sit at our table. That's our hashtag.
I have noticed that. I love
because
that.
we've all felt that when you walk into a cafeteria or a party where you don't know someone, we want to welcome all. So I did on purpose did not do an application process because we want to welcome whoever you are, whatever you do, and whatever you look like into our space.
Very cool. And what's the website? We'll be sure to drop it in the link below.
Sure, it's www.luminary-nyc.com, and our handle is @BeALuminary.
Fantastic. Cate, thank you so much for joining us. Really
Thanks
appreciate
for having me.
taking the time, and I look forward to
Yes,
swinging by
hopefully you'll
Luminary.
come soon.
I'm swinging by later this week, as a matter of fact.
All right, great. Thanks.
All right, Nasdaq followers, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Nasdaq Spotlight. Stay tuned for more programming to come.